who is Curt Mencer, and he's going to talk to us about pathways. Take it away, Curt.
There, can you all see those? That one, anyway. Let me just talk for a minute. Okay? I was there the first day Pathways was released. I was appalled. I was confused. I was angry. I had just finished doing my first Toastmaster book, and I was proud of that. And then they came to me and said, this is the way you got to learn. I made a speech. I made a speech bashing Pathways. It was a good speech, but it was the wrong thing. So after umpty-ump years, I've learned to appreciate Pathways, but I've also learned that people struggle with it because of the way it's put together. So today what I want to do is share with you some thoughts about how it's put together and how you won't have to struggle if you use it. Now, most of you probably already know this at some level, but your people that you represent don't. So pay attention. And if you want the copies of these slides later, I'll give them to you. If you want me to visit your club and make the presentation, I'll do that too. There's a cost associated with this, has something to do with coffee. Here we go. I believe that Toastmasters has 3 support processes that make it work. The first one's speaking. I don't mean formal speeches necessarily, although those are part of it, but think about what we do at every meeting. Most of us, or all of us, speak. That is so powerful. You have no idea. The next thing is we give feedback. Feedback, especially for people who are learning to be leaders, is a critical skill. And we teach feedback in the right way. It's supportive and uplifting and still pointed. To make all that work, there's Pathways. Pathways is the piece of this 3-legged stool that powers all the rest of them. So let's talk about what Pathways really is. It is a learning experience. It is a learning process. It's customizable. It's self-paced, and it's learning. What does it do for us? It helps members get the basic skills to speak. Why most people join Toastmasters in the first place. It sharpens the skill of giving and receiving feedback. We didn't know that we needed that when we joined, but we quickly found out. And Pathways is that thing that's elevated us from just a speaking organization because it helps develop leadership behaviors. And there are a number of leadership environments. We'll get to that in a second. So Pathways, when most people join Toastmasters, this is why they join. I'm going to build my skills as an accomplished public speaker. That's the thing. Now, Toastmasters recognizes that, and we have a path called Presentation Mastery that does that. We also have 10 other paths. What you have to think about and understand and help your people understand is they're not separate courses of action. They are not separate ways to be a Toastmaster. Each one of these is a focus on something that's related to communications. It's also related to leadership. If you look at all of these descriptions, you'll see that communication is there, and in many of them, leadership is there. These separate paths help people focus on a particular aspect of Toastmasters that belongs to them and them only. If you help people understand that and you help people pick the right path, that is a powerful thing that keeps them in Toastmasters. Can you believe I said Pathways helps you keep people in Toastmasters? It does. There is a language to Pathways that's different than some of the language we use in Toastmasters in general. And if you're going to help people understand, you have to learn the language. Now, there are 4 pictures over here. I'll let you look at them for a second. Then I'm going to tell you what they mean. All right, the path. And all of these 11 things are called paths, not pathways. It's a path. Every path is the course. It's the entire course of study that your member is going to be involved with. The course has 5 levels. Every course has 5 levels. In every course, level 1 is the same, and level 2 is very similar because these 2 levels develop the basic Toastmaster skills. Then we move on to 3, 4, and 5, and each of those are the same thing but different. They're titled the same, but inside them there's different content depending on the path. Now, a level, if you will, is a chapter within the course. We're looking at chapter 2 here, and level 2. And as you can see, there's activity going on inside this chapter that's unique to the chapter and unique to the level of development. This brings people along in an ordered fashion. There is some really, really good learning theory that this design is based upon. I didn't believe it the first 17 times I looked at it, but finally I got it. A project is an assignment within the level. That project usually includes a speech. As you can see, I've highlighted one of the projects in level 2 of the presentation mastery path. I said that way on purpose. As a leader, every time you talk about pathways, you talk about it as a level, well, as a project. I'll get it right. As a path, as a level, and as a project. Teach people that language because it really helps sort out what in the world they're doing. All right, now we're going to move on to something different. If you have questions anytime, stop me. I'm easy to stop, and I have coffee here. I can take breaks. I go on. Elective projects in levels 3, 4, and 5 in every path, there are elective projects. And if you look over here on the right-hand side, there's a whole bunch of them. Some of them are common to different paths. Some of them are common to different levels within the paths, but all of them help people focus on what they're doing in the path that they've chosen. So we have paths, we have levels, we have projects, and we have electives. So if you go back to that side with the pictures, now you know. I'm going to move on. I said this forever. There's no obvious path through pathways. It's content rich, feature rich, but not intuitive. That isn't quite the case anymore. In the last 2 months, Toastmasters has done some powerful things to make it easier to find your way through. They first started with changing the front end to education programs and a go to Basecamp access thing, which helped people at least go, oh, that's how I get in, I think. Let me try it. Now, as is usual in pathways, and don't tell anybody I said this, okay? There's more than one way to do everything in pathways. There's always more than one way, and while that's nice, if you're teaching someone pathways, teach them one way and tell them that's all they need because that's the truth. And then finally, there is a simple entrance to pathways and to everything Toastmaster. When you now log into the Toastmaster website, this is what you see. Now, there's a lot more stuff below it, but where can we take you today? And the very first thing is go to Basecamp. You click on that, you'll be in Basecamp. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. There's also a learning hub, and there's a specific thing that we do in the learning hub that I'm also going to tell you about. But it's important, it's critical to help people understand that this thing is simple and don't complicate it. Because there's tons and tons of stuff here that people will learn to use as they need it. In the beginning, make it as simple as possible. Okay, so these are the steps now that are illustrated inside Pathways process. Remember I said the Learning Hub had a specific use? The Learning Hub is where you pick your path, all right? In the past, it was somewhat confusing, but if you'll take a look, this is 3 different screens that lead you through picking your path. Let me keep going. So it says choose your path $20, but as everybody knows, but you better tell your members, you already paid for that when you paid your new member dues, right? So select your path language. That's pretty easy, maybe. We're doing English, but there are tons and tons of languages. If you're in a different language, then you are. How do you access your materials? And I'm going to say again, this is the simplest way to get through this. There are more than one way, all right? Digital resources or select printed material. Here's the deal. If you select printed material, you got to pay for it. And if you select digital resources, somewhere in there, and I'll show you where it's at, is a place to print everything that you would get if you bought the printed materials in the first place. And when they send you the printed materials, they send them to you a little bit at a time, which sometimes is confusing unless you're working straight through the path. 2 options to select a path. And officers, mentors, coaches, whatever you want to call yourself, no new member should go through this by themselves. Don't you dare do that, because it'll create so much confusion that someone will back away. And I'm sure you've never seen anybody back away from Pathways, right? They'll back away. You need to help them. And once you do this, 90% of your work is done, right? First thing is, I'm going to pick a path by looking at all of the different paths, and I only have 6 up here, and clicking on a little circle, and then I'll have it. There are some members who come into Toastmasters who have a pretty good idea of what they want to do, what they want to be, and why they join. If you need more explanation when you're in this mode, if you see the dynamic leadership path, you click on that, you get more information. There's another click underneath that, and you get the whole illustrated path. Now, if you're working with someone who has some idea of what they wanted to do when they got in Toastmasters, by questioning them, you'll get a sense of that, and you can help point them towards different paths that will make sense to them. This is a critical piece of what we do. So you have to do it, and you can't let new members do it by themselves. You just can't. I'm sorry. So if you have joined Toastmasters and you don't know for sure what you want to do or how you want to focus, there is an assessment. This assessment looks simple, but it's very cleverly constructed to do this. First of all, when you first start the assessment, it says pick 3 things that are important to you. And of those 3, which is the most important to you? Right? Now the assessment has a framework. And every other question inside the assessment is based on an answer that you gave before. It really is a tailored assessment that'll get you to a recommendation that makes sense to you as long as you answered the questions. And you have to help people understand that. The survey, the assessment will recommend a path, sometimes 2. The member can either pick that path or, having gone through the assessment, could say to you or whoever's helping them, that isn't exactly what I wanted. Can we go back and look again? Don't take the assessment again. That won't work. Take them back to the selections. Moving on. All right, now there are two pieces that people have to learn very, very clearly in pathways. Number one is how to pick a path and how to work inside that path. The work is what's important. So we'll talk about that for a moment. Now, at your home, where can we take you today, Curt screen, all you have to do is click on Go to Basecamp. The next picture is Basecamp. You see it has 3 things there: paths and learning, speech evaluations, tutorials, and resources. It only has one thing there, folks: paths and learning. The rest of it is for later if you need it. Paths and learning is the way to get into your path. And once you get into your path, now you have, I have more than one path. So you can click on your, I can't see it from here. You click, and this is another thing. If you click in the wrong place, you get taken off into the different world. So when this comes up, if you're presentation master, it says open curriculum. That's the way you get in. If you click on presentation mastery, the little blue stuff there, you'll get something, but isn't something you want or need. So we're going to open the curriculum. We open the curriculum, and here are the levels. All right, I'm illustrating level 2 because my presentation mastery level 1 is done, and you don't get to see the same things. Now, some things about these projects. In the levels, they're sort of built on one another. Okay, so there's a process that helps you, that tailors it so that you're learning as you go along. Here, we're going to talk about understanding your communication style. All right, we've decided that's the project we're going to work on. So we click on Launch. Remember, there are all kinds of clicks that can get you crazy, but click on Launch. Click on Launch. Every project in every path has this part of content organized exactly the same way. It's got the same introduction, your assignment, all those different subcategories. It goes through those in that order, and it's got different information, but it's all organized in the same way. The first thing you have to help people understand is this is an I'm going to get better at speaking. I'm going to maybe go to Toastmasters. This is an information library. It's a reference library. You do not have to read every single word in the library to do your project. Okay? There's all sorts of stuff in here. And if you help somebody go through their first speech, their first project, you can take them through the information library and highlight some of the things, but there is a way to tailor that to everybody's needs. And that is, the first thing you do is print the project checklist. And you find the project checklist, believe it or not, under the tab Complete Your Assignment. This is a way to start people so that they can stay organized and focused, and they can get through the project in logical, comfortable, focused order. So here's the assignment page for this project, and I've highlighted the purpose of the project because that basically defines what you have to do. And one of the things you discover when you do this is that inside the reference library, there's a thing called Discover Your Communication Style, and you have to do this in order to complete your assignment. And that Discover Your Communication Style is very, very powerful and very, very useful. So now you have the project thing, you have your Discover Your Communication Style questionnaire, and then You go through the other pieces of it. And I always tell new people, skim through it. And if there is something that entices you, read it. But just keep thinking about this project and how you're going to focus it. People are not ignorant. They can do this. And you don't have to make them read every word. Good heavens. Okay, why did I tell you not to buy the printed stuff? If you click on your evaluation, and you're beginning to see these little subtitles don't always show you what you think they're going to show you. There are two things. There's your evaluation resource, which is literally the evaluation for this project that you should you should download it and send it to your evaluator, unless you're using Free Toast Host, and then on Free Toast Host, you can click in there and get it. The other thing is Print My Project, all right? If you had ordered the Understanding Your Communication Style project in printed format, what you'd get is what's over here on the right-hand side, a 19-page booklet. Well, that's nice. But a 19-page booklet, it may overwhelm some people. It will overwhelm some people. By the way, the Icebreaker booklet is 27 pages. Can you imagine? Help people understand that there's reference material here, not a whole bunch of stuff they have to read. Okay. The evaluation forms are the same but different. Okay. Every one of them asks you to talk about what they did really well, what they need to work on, and what to do to make yourself really better. And then it has a whole area where you can point and click different basic skills and then comment on them. This is the way I use it. Is I more often organize my evaluation speech using this stuff rather than putting all the comments in on it. But this is a PDF that you can fill out, save, and send to the person after the fact. And it's really, really helpful. Now, here's the challenging thing about pathways. There's certain things you have to do to get credit for what you're doing that don't always make sense. In order for a member to get credit for a project, right? You went through the stuff, you gave your speech, you went, okay, I'm done. I got that one done. Pathways doesn't know that. There's only one way Pathways will know that. And that is if you complete the Assess Your Skills After 5-question survey. If you're looking down here in the blue thing, Assess Your Skills After. You have to do that. Nobody ever sees it. It honestly means nothing to anyone except you. But when you complete that, the software says, okay, this project is done. And it gives you a little check mark up there next to your screen. All right. As you can see, if you look here, all these projects are done. Little check mark beside them. You have to have people do that survey and then check for the check mark, because that's the only way people are ever going to get credit for their projects. And then there's a level credit as well. Okay, once you complete all the projects in the level, and you have little check marks, you go to the bottom of the level, and then there's a file folder that says level 2 completion, or whatever it says completion. So you don't view the certificate because you don't have it yet. You don't view the training details because you really don't care. What you have to do is launch this thing. And then you go through this little survey that is interesting to somebody, but not necessarily operative. I've never seen anything happen because of the comments that are on here, except this is another one of those software things. When you complete this and submit it, a message is automatically sent to your vice president of education or whomever has been assigned the role of base camp manager. I want to say that just short because that isn't true. The vice president of education is the only one who gets the notification. All right, the only one that's been notified that somebody wants credit. Every officer can go in there and give credit, but the vice president of education is the only one who gets the communication that says, Fred is waiting on a credit for level 2. Right? So how do you give credit? Oh, look, even if you're not the vice president of education and you didn't get notified, you can see people's requests that are pending. And that automatically is put in there when somebody completes that little survey at the end of the path, at the end of the level, I'm sorry. And you can, if your base camp manager assign, and officers, you can organize yourselves and you can manage that, because that assignment stuff can be everybody or just a few people or however you want to do. So the first thing you have to do is go under pending requests, and there's a little check mark that you make, and that person has credit in the Pathways software. Pathways software is a section of independent code that works over here. To get them credit inside Toastmasters, you have to go to Club Central, and where it says Submit Education Awards, you have to click there and also give them credit for the same thing you just gave them credit for in Pathways. Then it's done. And it's only done when those two are done together, or at least done. When the Club Central one is done, if the other one is done, then the person can see their certificate. Right? You can sort of monitor people's progress by clicking on member progress, and it gives you some sense of how much activity these people have done. And it's not very operative, but at least you can see in this case, there are 3 people who are ahead of the other people. I'm one of them, but then I'm the Pathways guy, right? An important thing, I had an important thing to say before this. An important thing for you to understand is this stuff, these pieces that you do about credit, that's terribly important, because people respond to the fact that they get recognized that they did the work. You know? That's one way to recognize them for doing the work. The other thing you should do every meeting for everybody who's done anything in Pathways is announce it, celebrate it. Because if you look inside Pathways, there's all sorts of little recognition things. There's badges, there's certificates, and a couple of other things. Make sure that anybody who does anything gets credit, gets encouraged, gets recognized. That will seal this whole Pathways process. Right? You also, now this is just me, okay? There's no rule in Toastmasters that said you should do this. This is just me. I think everybody who is a new person in Toastmasters needs a coach or a mentor, or at least someone who knows Pathways and can help that new member figure out how to navigate it, what they need, and take them through their first 3 projects, which is almost level 1, but not quite. So that you can help them figure out how to navigate and, go through the assignment and look at what they need inside the information library. And then after you work that through with them, help them understand how to find what they need going forward. And once you've done that, people have a comfort level with this process that makes it easy for them to do it. And if people do this, the incredible progress they make becomes obvious. Once you get past all the stuff, well, it's hard to do and it's hard to navigate and I can't find my way around, the progress is incredible because the learning theory behind all of this is well done, and it's done by learning professionals. They knew what they were doing. If we help people understand the software, they will get better, and they will get better quickly. That's all I have. Anybody have questions? I will take questions from anybody. And
yeah, Curt, this is Sal Canada.
Yes, sir.
With regards to getting credit, there's something that comes back to you after you complete the survey for the second time that says, give us some feedback. And you can fill that form out, you give the feedback, and I understand once you do that, you get the credit that you're looking for, or the right people get notified, and then you get the credit you're looking for. The one problem I ran into was when I got that message to give some feedback, there was a statement on it that said, this will be active for 10 days. Well, it's pretty cool if you could fill it out when you see it for the first time, but if you can't, and you put it to the side and you forget to come back, you can't send the feedback. So I'm wondering, how can that get re-teed up so the person has a chance to actually give the feedback after 10 days?
Well, the first thing I would do is make sure that when someone completes all of the projects in the path, there's a folder right there in the level that has that questionnaire that they should fill out as part of the process. You shouldn't wait for someone to say, you're done, go ahead and fill this form out. Once you get that form.
I'm not waiting for it. I get it. I mean, it came right at me after I filled out the survey the second time. I didn't ask for it. It just was shot to me. So if you're telling me all I have to do is drop the menu and look there for it, I'll be glad to do that. But I'm not asking for anything. It came back to me as part of the process.
How long after you finished did you get it?
Oh, gosh, soon. In the same session, real time.
Okay. I'm not real familiar with that 10-day cutoff thing. But if in fact that's there, it's there. I personally, well, see, when I'm done, I just go in and do it. I do it before I get a notification because that's the way I am. But there probably are people who are getting that thing, and you have to help them understand that if they don't do that, it'll go inactive. But I think there's a way for somebody to go back in and reactivate it. I'll look at that and I'll let you know, Sal.
Well, after the first time I got that message and waited, I made sure that when I got it again, I filled it out.
Yeah. And that's a good behavior to encourage. All right. I'm making a note of that because I wasn't aware of that being a stumbling block, but it might be. Yes, sir. Man with his hand up.
Well, you know, I got 4 level 5s, a level 3, and I just started my 6th path, and I have never filled out an evaluation, and I've never had it held up. So I don't think the evaluation is connected with the award in any way. However, it might have been that he did that evaluation when his person did the award. I don't know, because generally they send you 2 things when you complete a level. One says congratulations, and the second is the evaluation, which I have done 0. And that's over 60 speeches that I've given in Pathways. I've never filled that out, and I still got credit for everything. So unless they've changed that, I don't know what to say.
Well, I don't really know if I did or didn't get credit for the one I was late on. And quite frankly, right now, it didn't interest me that much that I would follow up on it. However, I thought it would be good to know why. And I'm okay with you not filling it out and getting credit, but I'm telling you, why are they saying that when it doesn't matter? I guess
that's a question we have to answer, Sal. And If we disagree, that means that there's something out there that isn't clear. We'll find out.
So if I'm understanding you, Curt, you're going to get the answer and give that to him and share it with us later.
I'm going to give it to everybody, yes.
Okay.
Yes. And there'll be no charge for that.
Oh,
No coffee or anything.
no coffee.
Thank you, Curt.
Any other questions? Now is the time.
I do have another one for you. You know, I have another one for you, don't you?
Of
I always
course.
have another one.
Yes.
When did they change it that the VPE, the president, and the secretary, when did they open it up where other people could get in there and give credit? Because is that a club specific thing that they allow to get in
I
there?
don't know the answer to that. All I know is what I experienced.
Because I'm not a secretary now, and I'm not a VPE, and I'm not a president, and I can't get in and give anybody credit. So I guess it's a club specific thing. I'm not sure.
I'm going to find that out too. But
Thank
Bert,
you.
it's altogether possible that they've got your number, my friend. We're very serious here, folks. Come on. Anything else? It is a pleasure to have you listen, and it is a pleasure to share that with you. And I hope I made your world easier. And I hope you can then go and make your people's world easier, because that'll make a huge difference in their growth, in their retention, in their recruiting. It makes a difference. And if you want me to come and do it for you, I'll do it. All you have to do is let me know. And you can find my email address somewhere around here.